in Chicago, Illinois. Snowing outside, but it's warm inside the UIC Pavilion. We saw an opening bout that featured Chico Arambula. Extended his winning streak to 7 straight in his young career. And there you're going to see he's going to come out with knocked him down in the first, Rich.
Right, and it was a great left hook, and that just kind of really threw off David Diaz almost the rest of the fight. And after that, he built on that. Second round, he went to work once again and landed that left hook. And look at the dazed look on Diaz's face. His legs went right out from underneath him, and he got away from some of that stuff, but still, he was a big winner.
Our Jessica Rosales caught up with the corner of Chico Arambula. Jessica?
Yeah, I actually caught up with Chico himself right after the fight, and he told me after that first knockdown, he did not expect Diaz to get back up. But since he went the distance with him, he said he's a good fighter and much tougher than what he thought. Now, his corner told me this is the first time that he's actually gone 6 rounds, and they were more than happy with his performance. But his head trainer, Sam, said to me he did everything right. Next time, he just needs to throw more body punches. All in all, he gives tonight's performance a B.
Well, a B's not a bad grade, and you know, that means that you're continuing to develop. And it's always good to go to the distance once in a while.
And our next fight will be a good one. Hot prospect Julian Ramirez from East LA. They call him El Camarón, the shrimp, against veteran Carlos Rodriguez. And there you see in the corner, Julian El Camarón Ramirez, 10-0 with 6 KOs.
And I think this is one of the finest prospects in the world of boxing right now. Just 10 fights, but I tell you, there's already a real buzz about Julian Ramirez. You talk to a lot of people, they see this kid as one of the real bright youngsters with a big future.
And his opponent tonight, across the way, Carlos Rodriguez from Los Mochis, Sinaloa. As he said, the home of champions, the home of fighters. You talk about Sinaloa and Mexican fighters, you always have some interesting ones.
Oh yeah, they've got a lot of them there, of course. A lot of them have gone through there. He works with all of them. But Rodriguez has been around the block a few times. He's got that experience, but look at that difference in 9 years in age. So he'll be giving away age tonight. He'll be giving away height, and he'll be giving away reach to this young phenom, Julian Ramirez.
Let's go to the ring with our announcer, Joe Martinez.
Well, 5 pins, we are set to go with the next bout tonight. Our co-featured bout of the evening, 8 rounds scheduled in the featherweight division. Presented by Golden Boy Promotions in association with Fox Promotions and sponsored by Corona Extra, La Cerveza Más Fina, and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day. The 3 judges scoring this bout at ringside are Scott Dexter, Maron Di Fiore, and Alan Rossin. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action is Gerald Scott. And now, fight fans, here we go. Introducing to you first, fighting out of the red corner. Wearing tonight black trimmed in orange, he weighed in officially 122 1/2 pounds. This veteran brings a record that stands at 22 victories, 13 defeats, 3 draws with 10 wins, coming by way of knockout. Presentando al hijo de Los Mochis, Sinaloa, Mexico, Carlos Rodriguez. And next his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. Wearing navy blue, trimmed in orange, he weighed in 122 1/4 pounds. A 10-fight veteran, he is perfect in the ring. 10 victories with no defeats, 6 wins coming by way of knockout. From the City of Angels, Los Angeles, California, here is the undefeated Julian El Camarón Ramirez.
Okay, you guys had your instructions in the dressing room. I want a good, clean, professional fight. Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands. Touch him up. Good luck.
Julian Ramirez came in wearing a cowboy hat here tonight. His neighbor, Jorge Arce, did that for many years and almost always walked out of the ring with it on and victorious. We'll see if that happens tonight for Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez, Rich, it's called the Tejana. So when it comes from Mexico, you call it the Tejana. He said it's a special meaning because that's a Tejana given to him by his great-grandfather. Ramirez, the southpaw, coming off a win over Derek Wilson that went 8 rounds back in January. Rodriguez lost to Jojo Diaz, another hot prospect, and that was by 7th round KO. Also, that was in December of last year. Yeah, and Rich, you were talking about that Tejana, and there's more to it with Jessica Rosales.
Yeah, that's not just any hat, you guys. Now, his great-grandfather is known for always wearing that hat. Literally, people say, as far as they can remember, he's always had that hat. Now, when Julian had his first fight, his great-grandfather came to that and asked him to wear it. So Julian has been very strict about always having it there to honor his great-grandfather. And one time, his family actually forgot to bring it to his fight. And guess what? Dad had to overnight that to San Antonio for him because he would not go out without it.
Hey, whatever works. You have to have the Tejana. So Julian Ramirez went to Alhambra High School in Southern California. Same high school as a other fighter we saw recently, Dominic Brazil.
You know, he's, as we mentioned, he's rising fast. A lot of people have their eyes on him. And he says, you know, I'm patient. He goes, whatever it takes, it takes. He goes, I know a lot of people are going to be encouraging me and trying to rush me. He goes, but whatever it takes for me to get to the top, if it takes 3 years, if it takes 4 years, whatever it is, I want to do it the right way.
His early fights, they were exactly what you expected from him. He'd come out and he'd blitz you. Saw, I think, his first 3 fights, and he just came out and it was first round knockout. And then he finally went for another first round knockout, and he was just destroying people. Now, through 10 fights, as he said, he's now calm, and he's in a good one tonight against Carlos Rodriguez, who's 22-13 with 3 draws and 10 KOs. Fighter who's been at this for a long time. Rodriguez turned pro in 2002. The two get on the ropes with a minute left to go in the opening round.
Ramirez, by the way, you mentioned he was from Alhambra. He was recently honored by the Alhambra City Council. He was given a proclamation for his achievements. That he's a very nice ceremony, and really unusual for a young fighter to get that kind of recognition from his city.
And Ramirez lands a couple nice lefts to the chin. Our next fight in San Antonio this Friday, Alan Sanchez, Jorge Silva, Illusions Theater in San Antonio, Texas. That'll be a good one. We got a good one right here in the first round. El Camarón Ramirez, the southpaw, working the jaw of Carlos Rodriguez. Another hit to the jaw. As Ramirez just stalking Rodriguez. 10 seconds to go in the opening round. Good one for El Camarón Ramirez as he has him on the ropes.
Julian Ramirez had a very strong first round. He came out and just surprised Rodriguez. If Rodriguez had any hopes of it would be a feel-out first round. That did not happen, and he went back to his corner with kind of a shocked look on his face.
Julian Ramirez comes from a boxing family. He's related to the late Genaro Chicanito Hernandez, a man you knew very well, Rich.
Yes, you know, of course, I was reporting on and broadcast some of Genaro's fights, and then got to broadcast with him as a broadcaster later on. And he's Ramirez here is the great nephew of Genaro Hernandez. He asked me today, he goes, was Genaro nervous when he was broadcasting with you? Because he would tell me he'd get much more nervous broadcasting than he would fighting. But I tell you, he was good at both.
Tonight's CompuBox stats are brought to you by ThrowdownFantasy.com. Draft fighters, track stats, and win. And when Chicanito Hernandez fought Oscar De La Hoya, that was the real battle over East LA. Garfield against Roosevelt High School.
That was really it, man.
Ramirez trying to continue the family legacy. Camarón also a big sports fan, just in general. He said he likes sports. He's a Clipper fan. He used to go to the games as a kid. He said, what? We got free tickets. Why not go?
Those tickets are a little harder to come by nowadays.
Yeah. An exciting team in the Western Conference.
Now Rodriguez trying to get himself together and to get a little respect from Ramirez to keep him off. Julian is one of the most, you know, it's amazing. He's young, and he's a really good puncher, very strong fighter, hot prospect, but he has like almost no ego at all. He's just so humble, it's unbelievable. And you fans, as you get to know him and hear from him more and more, are going to really like him and his personality.
He just turned 21. Birthday was in March. You talk about personality. On his Instagram page at L_Camarón23, you can see him always working out. He's at the gym late night on the treadmill. He's in the morning doing road work. He's doing gloves. As he said, he lives boxing. Did he go to school? After high school, he went to college for about a week. That wasn't for me. I'm a boxer. That's what he wants to do. That's all he does. Big left. Another one, unloading.
He's really loading up in this fight with all of these punches. And Rodriguez, being the good veteran that he is answering back here. But man, you see the variety of punches that Julian has. He can come at you with hooks, come from the side, and up the middle too with those uppercuts.
Rodriguez went 7 rounds in his last fight in December against Jojo Diaz. He's in a tough one tonight against Julian Ramirez. Two fighters going at it. 21-year-old coming on, looking good through 2. At the UIC Center in Chicago, Illinois, along with Rich Rada, I'm Beto Duran. We're in the 3rd round between Julian El Camarón Ramirez against Carlos Rodriguez, scheduled for 8 in the featherweight division.
Rodriguez, a solid veteran. His record not glittering, but of course he has been one of these fighters who has gone into other people's hometowns. He fights a lot of the undefeated fighters on the way up, and a lot of pretty good named fighters. So it's been a little hard for him if he's a journeyman, and he is a solid journeyman, you know, to build up any kind of a record.
Yeah, only his 2nd fight outside of Mexico in his entire career. It doesn't matter where you're at, a ring is a ring. He takes a body shot from Ramirez, who goes upstairs. Body from Ramirez. More body from Julian Ramirez. Continuing to work Rodriguez, who holds on.
Ramirez really punching strong to the body. Got a little bit wild there and started wrestling with Rodriguez.
Blood trickling down the nose of Rodriguez. Julian Ramirez, only 3 of his 10 opponents have had losing records.
Well, he doesn't need to fight fighters with losing records to
he doesn't want to either.
He's had good sparring in the past, got the chance to work with Miguel Vasquez, Scott Quigg.
Big left, another left. Gets Rodriguez into the corner.
Rodriguez just cannot keep Ramirez off of him. Now, Camarón it's interesting. You ask him who are his favorite fighters of all time, and he lists Ricardo Lopez, who of course was the consummate boxer.
Finito Lopez?
Yes, Finito Lopez.
Okay.
And Mike Tyson.
Okay.
Now, maybe there's some real good, there's got to be a lot of middle ground there for him to follow into.
YouTube can teach you a lot of things. Julian, only 21, but he said he'll be up late night on YouTube just watching fighters. He said that's what he does. He can't sleep, so he's just watching fighters. So to go and get Mike Tyson and Finito Lopez, when do you think you ever had that in the same conversation?
Well, and of course, Ricardo, you know, he was like, Finito was, I think, a 108-pounder. And Mike was usually going about 220, right? Not only their styles were different, but their poundage. But they're both Hall of Famers, that's for sure.
If you're going to learn something, you go to learn in the Hall of Famers. 20 seconds to go in the 3rd round, scheduled for 8. Carlos Rodriguez, mouth open. Taking some big body shots. Julian Ramirez, the youngster, just does not stop. He's in great condition. Just continues to come after Rodriguez. Another left. The southpaw continues to land the lefts. Julian El Camarón Ramirez, 10-0 with 6 KOs in his young career from East LA. He's been in control of this fight. 4th round, scheduled for 8 against Carlos Rodriguez from Los Mochis, Mexico. Julian said his family is from Zacatecas. That's where his great-grandfather lives. Said they're ranchers. There's ranches, and then ranches, and then more ranches in Zacatecas.
And we mentioned that Ramirez was carrying on that Gennaro Hernandez legacy. We should mention, of course, that his brother, Rudy Hernandez, is also certainly carrying that on as a trainer right now. Rudy was a fine fighter in his own right, but now is really one of the outstanding trainers in the world.
Julian, trained by Rafael Sarabia. Cutman is Jesus Lopez. Also in his corner tonight, his manager, Joel de la Hoya. And Carlos Rodriguez knew why he was coming here, to give Cameron a battle. But it looks like the Cameron has just been too much, Rich.
Well, I'll tell you, the way that he smothers Rodriguez, he just cannot get any punching room. He just leans on him here. And Rodriguez is wearing down. Once again, he had kind of a jaded look on his face as he went back to his corner in that last round. I mean, because he has to work 3 minutes of every round. I mean, there's no rest. Look at this. There's no moment to relax.
You can't get away as the Cameron. He said the name's not Cameron in Spanish translates to shrimp. That's not the reason. Not because he's only 5'7" and 122 pounds. He said when he was boxing around the age of 11, somebody noticed that because of his light complexion, he was sweating and getting red. So because he was so burnt red, shrimp looks red, so he's El Camarón. That's where the name comes from. So don't think that he's a little guy. He's not a shrimp. It's because he just turns red. He said, I just went with the name and kept going. And here he keeps on going on top of Carlos Rodriguez. Had him in the corner, has him on the ropes, and he's just literally taking him down the entire section of the far rope.
It's just kind of a slow beat down here. Rodriguez is trying, make no doubt about it. I mean, he's definitely, he's hanging in there. He's trying to punch back.
And he's absorbing some big punches.
Now there Ramirez actually stepped back to give himself a little punching room.
Carlos Rodriguez has faced 10 undefeated fighters in his career. This makes it 11. And he's been stopped in 5 of his losses. It's only his second fight at featherweight.
Well, you mentioned that Rodriguez had fought Jojo Diaz, another bright up-and-comer, with a lot of the same traits and attributes that we're seeing from Ramirez
also
in terms of his career. He said he wanted to start faster tonight, but Ramirez just wouldn't let him.
He didn't. Julian Ramirez controlling the fight the entire way.
Out here, the name you put on the side of your truck means as much as the one we put on the front.
And we're back inside the UIC Pavilion, Chicago, Illinois. Julian El Camarón Ramirez, undefeated 10-0 against Carlos Rodriguez as they're trying to find Rodriguez's mouthpiece. 5th round scheduled for 8. Ramirez, the southpaw. Blue trunks with orange trim. Rodriguez with the black trunks.
It's interesting, they were a little nervous about the reach of Cameron, so actually they liked Rodriguez staying close to Ramirez. I don't know if they wanted him necessarily pinioned up against the ropes that he was like in that last round for 3 minutes, but they do like a close-in fight. They prefer it.
And I think Ramirez does too. He's on top of him, keeping Rodriguez in the corner, and he's just throwing even those little punches. He doesn't stop working. His trainer, Rafael Sarabia, it's an unconventional but a conventional one because it works for him. Sarabia, in his backyard, built his own gym, and that's where he goes in Pico Rivera. That's where Ramirez goes to work out. So in the morning he does his road work, goes and works out with his trainer in a backyard elaborate gym, and at night he goes to another fitness gym where he's either playing basketball or on the treadmill.
Yeah. Well, you know, hey, backyard gyms work. A lot of great fighters have had backyard gyms. The Ruelas brothers trained in the Goosen's garage. Johnny Tapia trained in his backyard.
Did he really?
Yes.
Love Johnny Tapia. New Mexico. That's the fighter who always came with it.
Now Ramirez a little bit different adjustment in his style in this round now. Long distance, doing a little something different, maybe boxing a little more, maybe trying to set some traps here for Rodriguez if he can, showing a little bit of movement. but a clear adjustment in style now. Not so aggressive, not completely on top of Rodriguez as he was.
Julian Ramirez, a fighter who just comes out in his first 5 fights and just in a blink of an eye they were over. I remember talking to him not too long ago. He said, I know I need to slow down a little bit, but I just love boxing. I just love getting in there and mixing it up. And here he is against a tough veteran fighter at the age of 30, Carlos Rodriguez. Rodriguez had his nose bloody a little bit in the 3rd round. It seems to have gone away.
These fights, though, are learning fights for a young fighter like Ramirez. Go in there against a veteran who has had a lot of experience, a guy who knows some tricks, can show him some things that he hasn't seen before.
He's learning. He's also controlling. Julian Ramirez, a big left. And we're back. UFC Pavilion. Julian El Camarón Ramirez against Carlos Rodriguez. 6 rounds scheduled for 8. Featherweight division. Camarón started boxing at the age of 11. At 15, he was in the mix sparring with pros. That's what he said. That's when it finally hit me that I wanted to be a professional boxer. Forget basketball, forget baseball, forget anything else. Wanted to be a pro at the age of 15, and that's all he wants to be. He said he wants to be one of the best. The heads clash a little bit.
Now the fight is more of a long-range fight. Now, once again, you see Ramirez now lateral movement. Different fighter completely than he was in the first 3 rounds.
It's a busy month for Golden Boy. Friday we're in San Antonio, then on the 28th we're in Puerto Rico, Bayamón, El Coliseo Ruben Rodriguez, Michael Perez against Jorge Romero. That's going to be an exciting one. Those two are going to go at it, and a Puerto Rican boxing crowd, Rich Arada. You know they're going to love it, but especially when you have 2 locals.
I love to go to fights in Puerto Rico, and it's always an electrifying atmosphere there amongst the crowd.
Julian Ramirez working the body.
I wonder, I think Ramirez may have actually gotten these instructions from his corner here, Beto.
Really?
Let's change things up a little bit. Let's box now. You know, for 3 rounds he was just smothering him. He was slugging, blowing him away with body shots. Now it's a long-range fight, and here Rodriguez actually gets a chance to kind of settle in a little bit and make a different fight of it for himself as well.
Yeah, Rodriguez isn't a pushover. He's here to work and to fight. As you mentioned earlier, a good learning experience for Ramirez, and with more on the corner, here's Jessica Rosales.
The first thing that I heard when I went over to Ramirez's corner was pressure him and watch your distance. Talking to his corner, they told me that what they're trying to do is really set Rodriguez up so that way when he comes in, Ramirez can stay back and catch him. They said Rodriguez is very tough and he's very durable.
Well, he says, you know, he likes to mix it up. He said, you know, when he was describing Ramirez, he goes, well, he likes to mix it up, and I do too. I'm not going to let him use his reach and height on me, so let's mix it up.
Rodriguez, we talk about Julian and his background, but Rodriguez in Los Mochis, Sinaloa, it's a lot of fighters out there. Traveso Arce, he was going against Montillo. He just fighters that he's in the mix with, and he's here giving a tough one to Julian Ramirez. Closing seconds of the round. Headed to the 7th round. Julian Ramirez from East LA has a lot of friends and family back home watching this fight. Also has family in Boyle Heights. Trains in Pico Rivera all over Southern California. First time I ever saw this kid fight at the Home Depot Center in Carson. Comes out with, of course, with the Tejana, Rich Murata. But because of the last name, because he likes baseball, came out in a Hanley Ramirez Dodger jersey.
All right. You gotta love that.
I asked him, why the Hanley? Your favorite player? He goes, well, obviously the last name. It's always good. But Dodger fan in LA, you should have heard the crowd go after that.
Well, you got to get arrange an intro for him with Hanley.
Oh, we definitely do. Hey, the rate that Cameron is going. 7th round. Ramirez, Rodriguez.
On the other hand, you get a guy like Carlos Rodriguez. Now look how hard he's trying here, and he's doing some things. He's landing some punches, had a little better success in the last couple of rounds with Ramirez. He didn't fold up under that early assault from Ramirez. It's guys like Carlos Rodriguez really who make the boxing world go round. You cannot have, the sport basically. This is a guy who goes to other people's hometowns. He fights bright youngsters. He tries hard every time. He gives you an honest effort. And when he gets paid, he deserves what he gets paid.
38 professional fights, a career that started back in 2002. Born in 1983, Carlos Rodriguez. Actually started off his pro debut at 112.
So for 3 rounds, we saw Mike Tyson, and the last 3 rounds, we're seeing Finito Lopez.
You mentioned it, his 2 favorite fighters. There's got to be a happy medium somewhere. And Rodriguez, corner spoke with our Jessica Rosales. Jess, what they say?
Rodriguez's corner was telling me that obviously Rodriguez is the veteran fighter here, and they were thinking that Ramirez by this time in the fight would have been tired. They thought that because of his, he's got 10 fights compared to what Rodriguez has. So they're saying that now they're kind of seeing signs of him getting tired, but they expected him to really tire out a lot later or a lot earlier in this fight.
Well, I don't know if with Ramirez, he looks to me like he could go 30 rounds. So, especially the way that he's fighting right now, because now it was an enervating pace early in the fight, but now, he can enjoy himself, he can relax in there and fight this boxing style that he's utilizing in the last couple of rounds.
That's an interesting strategy, though. Closing seconds of the 7th round, scheduled for 8. Ramirez, Rodriguez, UIC in Chicago.
Now there's plenty of action going on in the ring, but we've also got some stuff going on behind the scenes. Be sure to follow Golden Boy Boxing on Twitter to get all of the latest, and also use the hashtag GoldenBoyLive to tweet along with us tonight.
8th and final round between Julian Ramirez and Carlos Rodriguez. 2nd time in his career, back-to-back fight set. Ramirez goes 8 rounds. This is his 11th career fight. He's 10-0 with 6 KOs. Carlos Rodriguez has been in some battles. He's used to going the distance in fights.
And we're seeing a variety of styles that El Cameron can use. He can be a slugger. He can be a boxer. He can stand on top of you, or he can move around the ring.
There he's warned by referee Gerald Scott about pushing down. Rodriguez comes out, hitting the left hand. Another warning telling both of them to keep it up. These 2 fighters coming out aggressive here in the 8th and final round. Julian has a little extra bounce in his step here.
Yeah, it looks a little more focused too in his eye. Kind of slammed his gloves together and said, let's go.
Ramirez in the blue with an orange trim. Goes down to the body. Another body. Separated by the referee.
Rodriguez admitted he's, taking the hard road in boxing, and it's he feels like he's a tough guy too. And he says these kind of fights I think can be good for me, because then it can bring some visibility to myself as well. Fighters like these help me too.
Julian Ramirez, a southpaw, hasn't really been hit tonight. 2 fighters in the center of the ring.
Well, I'll tell you one thing is, when fighters come to fight Julian Ramirez, they're not going to know necessarily which guy they're going to meet in there, in terms of the slugger or the boxer. And you got to definitely prepare for both.
Less than a minute to go in the action. 8th and final round. Blood coming down the nose of Carlos Rodriguez. He was stopped in his last fight against Jojo Diaz. Cameron, the southpaw. Goes to the body, goes back upstairs. Another right, upstairs again. Slaps his gloves. Good left for Cameron. avoids a punch from Rodriguez. Cameron slapping his gloves again with 20 seconds to go in the fight.
And after this, Joel De La Hoya, Golden Boy, will be looking to see how they move this young man along.
10 seconds to go in the fight. Cameron slapping his glove. Let's go. And he's finishing strong. And that'll do it. Julian, Ramirez, Carlos Rodriguez, they go the distance. Rodriguez puts up his hands.
Well, he's proud of the fact that he did go the distance and that he hung in there, and he did a nice job again after a really early big assault against him.
And then Julian Ramirez looked good tonight. Kid from East LA, El Camarón. Upcoming shows this Friday in San Antonio. Alan Sanchez from Fairfield, California, 12-3-1 against Jorge Silva, 19-5 from Tijuana, Mexico. And April 28th, we're gonna go to Bayamon, Puerto Rico. Michael Perez against Jorge Romero. And on May 2nd, former world champ Ishe Smith is our headliner in Las Vegas the night before Floyd Mayweather and Marcos Maidana.
You know, Ishe was the first Las Vegas-born fighter to ever win a world championship, and it really hurt his feelings when he lost it this year, so he wants to get another title.
And tonight's CompuBox stats are brought to you by ThrowdownFantasy.com. Draft fighters, track stats, and win.
There you see Julian Ramirez dominating the statistical look at this fight tonight. Ramirez landing about the 60 more punches, throwing way more, landing at a higher percentage rate, basically dominating the fight. He landed the more powerful punches as well, but Rodriguez hung in there and did do himself proud by lasting the distance against this young phenom.
And let's go to the ring with our announcer, Joe Martinez.
And now, fight fans, after 8 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. Here are the judges' scoring totals. Mauro Di Fiore scores at 80-72. Scott Dexter, 79-73. And Alan Rawson has it 78-74. All three for your winner by unanimous decision. And still undefeated, Julian El Camarón Ramirez.
And I believe El Camarón, if you take a look there, Beto, is red. His face is red. Well, he's living up to his nickname, you can see.
There he is. There he is, El Camarón. Julian El Camarón Ramirez continues to stay undefeated. Look good tonight. Our main event coming up, Rios Cancio, 10 rounds in Chicago.